it was the moment where everything could have been normal. It wasn't the moment of the fall. It wasn't all the shitty times afterwards. It was that moment where I'd been out with the lads and I thought, oh, my life can return to normal. And in that moment, right following that was realizing I don't want my normal. And I think that there's what I talk about in my work, I've written extensively about it, is there is a pivotal moment, falling off a mountain, and there is a choice moment. Pivotal moments is where everybody says, I'm going to change. And as we talked about in our previous conversation, a pivotal moment is a diagnosis. It's a heart attack. It's a bankruptcy. It's a divorce. It's all these monumental events. It's the loss of a loved one where we say, I'm going to change. And I've stood by the bed of a client who's had a massive heart attack, a triple bypass, and said, I've been doing it wrong. You're absolutely right. I've got to focus on this. I've missed my kids. I've missed my wife. I've missed so much. And then I've seen them 3 months later and they're doing the 60 hours a week again. And their answer is, look, Dov, that's just who I am. No, it's not. So for me, those pivotal moments are not the change. It's the choice point. And so what I'm really asking you guys about is, I want to hear about that. Was there a moment where you went into negotiation with yourself and felt, I can go back to this? I mean, obviously Jeff did that several times before the final one, but was there a moment even for you, Rhiannon, where it was like, yeah, you know what? I could suck it up. It's going to be okay. I can go pursue more of the goodies.
Yeah, I considered it. Because it's easier. And especially for me, the changes that I knew I needed to make, like, it was very clear to me what I needed to do in that moment. I knew I needed to get sober. Like, it was very clear. Like, we all know the things that we're doing. If you really think about it, you can, the evidence is there, but it required a whole lot. It would require me to literally completely change every single aspect of what I was doing and who I was.
And that's why people don't, right? Because
the friends I had.
You can't burn down a part of your life.
No, it had to be
the whole thing. You burn down everything.
Yeah, but and this is also part of my nature. I am someone who kind of goes all head first in, and I've always been that way. And I decided that I was going to do it. And I had never experienced hearing that voice that was not my own, that came through my body. Like, I just really had never experienced that. And so when I made that choice and I started to put the pieces in place, I started to receive what I believe was just, messages. Like, I was receiving messages that I had never received before that were coming. And my curiosity was driving me to continue. What is this? What is this? And as I kept going, I got, led back to Jeff. And now if you look at our lives, we were kind of going through this very different but similar breakdown at the same time. And when we came back together in that experience, which is going to sound really whacked out, but it's a wacky show, right, Dev?
It is weird, wacky, and wonderful.
We were having an exchange. We were having a coffee. We hadn't seen each other in a really long time. And I was sharing with him what had happened to me in the Arctic and how I had changed my life. And in that moment, we both had Kundalini energy run right up our spines. And we had both a 8-day long Kundalini awakening jointly over literally a coffee. And it was the most, transformative, scary. There's such a huge range of things that happened. All my kind of abilities and faculties came online. I had full recognition of him, from many other times that we've come together to do many things similar in nature, I believe. And he had it too. And the only way that I didn't, I would have normally thought I'm absolutely losing my mind and I need to go see a doctor immediately. If it wasn't that he was having the exact thing happened to him, I would have said, this is the most insane, outrageous thing that I've ever, heard in my life. But it was the fact that it was happening at the same time. So we had our first round of this energy that lasted for about 8 days. And that was in October of 2017. And then, of course, I ran away from him and decided, like, no, I can't get involved with any of this. And then we had our second round of that energy hit in the December of that year. And then that was it. It was a lifelong commitment to figure out, okay, what the heck are we supposed to be doing together, and what is going on, and that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you were already involved in the Economic Club of Canada.
Yes.
You had gone in, started working there. You ended up buying it, but and you're involved with it too now, Jeff, right?
The economic? No, that's Rhiannon's business.
Okay, but you have transformed what it was into, or what it was about,
Definitely.
to what it's about now.
Yeah.
And we talk about that a lot more on the Leadership and Loyalty show, but for now, this is post Leadership and Loyalty show. Sort of explain to people that transformation of what it was about versus what it is about.
Yeah. The Economic Club, when I came to be a part of it, was about Bay Street coming together to talk about important issues, monetary policy, public policy issues. It was a very homogeneous group of people that were coming together. It was, everyone looked the same, everyone thought the same, and it was really what it was. When I came in and I eventually took over, which is a story in and of itself, it made no sense for me to be the one that was running that. I wasn't part of that group. And so instead of, first I tried to pretend I was for a while, and that was, an interesting thing. And I have a lot of weird pictures of me dressed up like 10 years older than I actually am and wearing fake spectacles. But once I came to the realization that I am who I am, I decided that I needed to kind of change the nature of the way that we did things at the Economic Club. And so what that meant to me was broadening the scope of conversation. Economics is not just monetary policy. Economics is truth and reconciliation and equality and consciousness and a lot of different things that impact our system. The nature of the conversations had to change. So I had to invite more people under the umbrella, had to invite more people at the table, started the Junior Economic Club, started working with young people across the country and wanting to seriously invite them into a conversation where they didn't have to be, it's one thing to talk about business and economics in a classroom and, have someone who a lot of the times hasn't been in industry for a long time talking about all of these ideas. It's another thing to actually insert yourself into a community and get to ask those conversations, like get to have kids be able to sit down with CEOs and say, like, what's the truth of it all? Like, not everyone's not evil. Like, come on, like, let's get together and let's actually start to understand one another. So it was a series of just making those changes. I think the height of it for me, there was a lot of moments, but Michelle Obama spoke with the Economic Club in 2017. It was her first speech on Canadian soil since leaving office. And we had a stadium full, but what we did is we invited half the capacity of the stadium. We reserved it, meaning that even every corporate tables of 10 only could fill 5 guests, and 5 were filled by us, and they were young people, and they were not, sons and daughters of Bay Streeters. They were kids from all across this nation. They were kids that would never, ever find themselves in that space and room. And Michelle Obama led this conversation, and it just ignited something in me. I thought, what the heck is going on? Like, anything is possible here, anything is possible, and we can change the way that things are done. And I truly believe that. And so the Economic Club is, it's different. It's run by It's run by a girl. It's got a lot of people involved that wouldn't otherwise be, you know, traditionally seen as being involved. And it's really interesting. And it's now become a launching pad for what is, you know, this new organization in a lot of ways, because both of us are bringing our separate lines of expertise in to make something new. And it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's fabulous. And so the thing that it's evolving into, which is, you know, global institute is, I guess, is where you're going. Tell us a little bit about where that is, where that's evolving into.
Yeah. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so what we're doing with the organization now is we're launching it through this Mindful Money series that we're doing through Rhiannon's Junior Economic Club of Canada, where we've created all the content to help kids, university students, high school students to understand not only, you know, financial literacy, but mindfulness, sustainability, and being conscious consumers of, you know, what they can do to, you know, vote with their dollars, so to speak, as what Rhiannon was mentioning earlier. And then we're partnering with the Economic Club of Canada, doing large-scale events and having important conversations around, you know, ideas to change the world, conversations around the future of work. And with that as a platform, we're also, we wrote this book together to help launch the organization and have it more as a foundation of our philosophy, the research that we're doing, and trying to, you know, elevate from that position.
Yeah, I love what you're doing. You know, I think, you know, I wrote this book a long time ago, right, called Don't Read This Unless You Want More Money. And on the back page, it says, what you have heard up until this point about wealth has likely been taught to you by somebody who did not or likely never had it, right? And I think that so often we look at money through lenses that are not our own. And I love that you're elevating that conversation to say, well, what is money beyond the level of what you understand it? Whether you were born into wealth or whether you were born into poverty, it's still a set of lenses. And what if it's something else altogether? And I love that you're allowing people, showing people how to allow themselves to tap into it as a place for the expression of consciousness, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah.
I want to, sorry, go ahead, Rhiannon.
I was just going to say, one of the things, you know, just to kind of give people a sense of what we're talking about here, one of the things that we're going to be teaching the young people is this idea of what is your, you know, conscious belief around money and wealth, and what is your subconscious belief around money and wealth, and how do we align those two things? And for me, as a business leader, when I became financially successful through my career, I had made it, so to speak, or so I thought, but I was displaying actually really horrible behaviors with my money. So every single time that I was making a large sum of money, I was somehow getting rid of it. I was either giving it away, I was spending it frivolously, I was just making these really interesting decisions, and I kept getting back to the same place. And when I actually went deeper down and kind of realized I had all of these subconscious messages growing up, because I grew up the way I did, that rich people were greedy or that wealth was bad, and I was holding all of these things. So I could not reconcile now being somebody who had wealth in my life and reconcile what that meant. I didn't know how to be a good person with money. And I didn't even realize how deep down that nugget was rooted. And so, you know, uncovering that ended up being able to help me start to heal my relationship with money, which heals your relationship with being able to be financially well and empowered. And this is the kind of stuff we're talking about. It's simple, but it's, you know, we haven't had enough spaces and places to talk like this.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things I would like to say for anybody listening who's even pondering what we're saying is that it's important to understand that massive financial wealth will not make you happy or solve all your problems. But here's the rub of that. neither will struggling in poverty.
100%.
Right. So so the answer therefore is it's not the money.
Yeah.
It's how you use and how you look at and what you do with that money or lack thereof. And but the question I want to ask you both, that's kind of part of the theme of this show that I like to ask, is it seems like you were running your life in a certain way, both of you, and then there was a shift, and that's fine. But what I want to know is, when you were a kid, both of you, when you were a kid, did you ever feel like a bit of an alien? Like, I am not supposed to be in this family?
Every day. Like, I mean, I think we still are. For me, absolutely. I always did. I just felt different always. Every space that I was in, I just felt like, is everyone seeing this or what's going on? It was just always a sense that I was on the outside of something in some way. And I know that you had that experience as well.
Yeah, exact same thing. It was just, how I grew up was, my mother stayed at home. I had an older sister, and I just had a lot of time to explore. And, now with helicopter parenting and children having a lack of independence, I had a lot of independence as a child, and I would just be off on my own, making up my own, using my imagination, my own fun. And I found that I was just always, in many ways, different than the other kids at school. And I always, found myself thinking differently.
It's fascinating that everybody we've interviewed for this show who does have a different perspective on life has always had a different perspective on life. They didn't maybe manifest it. They didn't maybe express it. They didn't maybe turn it into a business, a career, or a focus of their lives. But they grew up feeling like a weirdo. Like I've said to several, and I guess one of my all-time favorite songs is "Creep," but I don't sing "Creep." I sing "Freak." I'm a freak. I'm a weirdo. I love the song because what the hell am I doing here?
Yeah.
And that song for me has been sort of deeply embedded in me. And I remember singing it, and like, I've not got the best voice in the world, but I just can't help but sing it because it's like, that is looking around in my family, eldest kid of a bunch of kids, in this poverty, and going, oh, how come I can see this and nobody else can?
Mm-hmm.
That was what drove me into psychology. That's what drove me into metaphysical study and religious philosophy. It's what drove me into quantum physics. It was always like, no, this isn't it. There's something underneath that. And everybody I've met who's been on this show, who are from a vast range of backgrounds that most people would find unbelievable, whether they're academics or whether they're, one of the gentlemen I interviewed has written a book about the connection between science and evolution and religious philosophy and being a Christian, right? And so and this seemingly diametrically opposed world, and talking about, and he was the highest paid internet marketing consultant in the world. That's verifiable.
Wow.
Right? So, totally different world.
Yeah.
But always had that feeling while growing up in this evangelical family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not that he was anti-Jesus or religion, but just like he felt like a freak and a weirdo because there was something else. Yeah. And I think that is so, like, one of my outcomes of this show is to have somebody listening going, maybe I'm not on my own.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a whole slew of freaks out that I'm a member of the freak tribe, and you know, I'm proudly flying my freak flag.
Definitely. I think that's a beautiful intention, because I know that, you know, as I study and learn and expand myself and meet more people, I've found so much comfort in that idea that there's other weirdos out there,
Yeah.
or that other people have felt those same feelings. And right now, I think I find myself going back in history and looking at who some of those weirdos were. I mean, John Lennon right now has been a huge influence to us. And we continue to look at, you know, ideas that he put out into the world, or, you know, Andy Warhol, or, you know, Rosa Parks. There's just so many incredible moments in history of people, and they were always the outside thinker. Like, they were always someone who was speaking against the grain of what was normal at the time. And there's so much expansiveness and understanding that, you know, what the way that we go is not always believed by the many, and that's okay. And yeah, that's okay.
If you is there a song that you guys associate to? You know, I just gave you Freak, Weirdo, which is Creep. Is there a song for you?
That's a beautiful song. I'm named after a song, as you know, which is Rhiannon by Fleetwood Mac. Actually, that song was written by Stevie Nicks about, it's a folklore tale about a goddess, and it's really about the other realms and the other worlds and magic and what is mortal and the between stages. And it is a theme for my life to think of that song in those different places, and to, you know, operate in between spaces of what we can see and what we can't, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Imagine's a pretty big one for us.
Imagine as well, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Music is a huge part, I think, of, you know, it's always been a huge part of my life and my creative outlet, writing, and I think, you know, for Jeff too. And I really truly believe that that's one of the reasons why we're so sick as a society right now, is because we don't have this space to be creative anymore. And it's a big part of, you know, a conscious capitalism is a space where, like, the convergence of art and business can meet together in the middle as well. So there's all of these, you know, ideas that need to kind of come and clump together that have seemingly been separate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did I like to ask this question, and of course it's part of the Leadership and Loyalty show, but in a parallel universe, what do you do?
I don't know.
I know that I'm a rock star.
Rock star.
Definitely.
I just want to know, are you covering the song Rhiannon?
I will, and I'll sing it for you right now.
In that parallel universe, you wrote it.
Yeah, in the parallel universe, I am Stevie Nicks.
Oh, you are Stevie Nicks. Okay, see that now we got that cleared up. Yeah. Listen, guys, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate you guys spending the time with us. Now on 2 shows, on this Curiosity Bites, and of course on Leadership and Loyalty. And if you're tuning into this show and you didn't catch the Leadership and Loyalty show, where we talk more about the leadership side of this, the business and economic side of this, I wanted you to really understand who these folks are and the impact that they're having. I appreciate you both being on the show, and I want you to leave us with something that we all need to get a little more curious about. What would that be from each of you?
Get curious.
It doesn't have to be related to what you're doing, but just what do you think
be curious about yourself and explore who you are.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There's so much to learn right inside here. Yeah, it all starts there.
I do too. Please tell our viewers and our listeners where they can find out more about you, about your institutes, about the movement that you're creating, about your fabulous book. Tell them the name of your book, all those things.
Yeah, absolutely. So our book is Capitalist Buddha, Waking Up to Conscious Economics. You'll be able to find that soon, and we'll link that on our website, consciouseconomics.ca. You can also look at the economicclub.ca, and of course, find us on social media at Rhiannon Rosalind, at Dr. Jeff Overall. Yeah, check us out. Come out to some events that we're doing. We do lots of them, and they're, constantly updated on our websites. Yeah.
Fantastic. Anything else you want to say before we go?
I think with what you were saying before about, people being weird and talking to those people that maybe have that awareness of there are other people out there that are like me. And I think it's just important for all of us to know is that we're never alone. There's always somebody around that we can, connect with if we just, open our eyes to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you both for your time. I sincerely appreciate it. It was an honor and a pleasure. And I will speak to you both very soon. Again, I appreciate you taking the time out. I appreciate all that you've shared. And I wish you both a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You too.